Hey everyone, JJ here. In this lesson, I'm going to be talking to you guys about medical terminology. Medical terminology is like learning like a different language. It pretty much is like a different language, but there are many easy ways to break the word apart into different pieces to make it much easier to comprehend. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is just breaking it down. So, in a medical term, each word has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the beginning is known as the prefix, and this is typically a descriptive part of the word or description that just tells you what the number or the amount is, the size, location, color, etc. The middle of the word is known as the root, and that's kind of like the subject of the word. And it usually relates to a part of the body. And the ending of the word is called the suffix, or what I like to call the condition of the word, which kind of details the process or procedure, but can also tell you about the amount and location, or other things as well. So just to kind of give you guys a brief background about certain prefixes that are commonly used, one of the first ones you probably hear of is macro. Macro just means large, and it typically is used in the context that it is visible to the naked eye. So you might have heard of macroscopic, macroeconomy. And the opposite of that is micro, which just means small, or not visible to the naked eye. And the way I like to remember this is that think of a microscope. So some things in the world are microscopic, and other things in the world, like our galaxies and in our observable universe, that's macroscopic. So some other things about amount and size would be hyper. Hyper just means high, or above normal, or elevated. And another one, the opposite of hyper, would be hypo. So that means just low, below normal, or decreased. So a couple other prefixes that you may not be aware of. One is eu or normo, and that just means that it's a normal. So or the condition is normal. So you could be euthermic. Instead of hypothermic, you're euthermic. So you're at a normal body temperature. Another term is pan or omni, and that just means all. So you can kind of think of omnipotent, all-powerful, panorama. It's a term that kind of encompasses all of something. Another prefix would be a or an, which just means absent or lacking. In the prefix maglo also means large or larger than average. So to get into some numerical prefixes, this one's pretty easy. Mono just means single or singular. Di means two or double. Tri, three or triple. Quad for four or quadruple. Poly is many or a lot. And oligo is kind of just a blanket term that just means that there are just a few, several, or very little. So for the prefixes related to speed, we have tachy, which means rapid or fast, and brady or breaky, which means slow. And so for these terms, you kind of typically think of the heart. You can have tachycardia or bradycardia or brachycardia. So they're just different terms to describe the speed of the heart rate. So for different locations for prefixes, we've got epi, peri, and circum, and these all just mean around, around the location or around the object. So you can just think of perimeter, circumference, the epicenter, you're kind of around the center. So like different things like that. Now the other one is endo or intra. They mean pretty much the same thing. That just means inside, inner, or interior. So for these ones you can think of intracellular or the endosome, for example. The opposite of those ones are exo and extra. So these just mean outside or outer or exterior. So you can think of exocytosis or the extracellular environment. And a term that a lot of students get confused with is inter. So you can see that intra and inter are very similar. So the difference is that inter means between. So for example, like the intracellular environment versus the intercellular environment, they're different meanings. So just be aware of that, guys. The next thing is trans. Now, you can think of transmembrane or transatlantic. It just means across. The other one is dia or per. So that just means through or complete. So dia, you can think of diameter, or per, you can think of perforate. It's something that goes through. It just means going through something. The other one is medi or medio or media, which just means in the middle. So the next one is para, which means nearby. And then we also have juxta, which means next to or beside or adjacent. So just think of juxtaposition. You put things beside each other. So the next prefixes involve movements. The first one is ab, ab, which means away. So when you abduct, abduct your arms, you're moving moving your arms away from your body. Or abduction, or abducting a child. That's an easy way to remember AB for away. The next one is AD or ad, which means toward. So adducting your arms means bringing your arms in toward your body. That's adduction. The next one is dis, and that means to separate. So just think of displace. You're kind of separating something out or separating things. The next group of prefixes I want to talk to you guys about is colors. So color, the prefix for color is actually chromo or chromato. Leuco, that means white. Next one is erythro, means red. Cyano is blue. Chloro, green. Melan or melano is black, so melanoma. And the last one is one that you very rarely ever hear, which is flav. It means yellow. So you guys may have heard of these before. Leuco for white, leukocyte. Red blood cells or erythrocytes. Cyano, maybe cyanide is a word that you think of. You become hypoxic and kind of become blue, right? Cyanosis. And another one is chlorophyll in plants. It makes them look green. So those are just some easy ways to remember those. Now getting into the body itself, just some general terms. One is homeo, which just means body. Cephalo is head. Cerv or like cervical or cervical is neck. Thoraco or thorax is the chest. Abdominal is the abdomen or abdominal. Pelvo or pelva is just pelvic, is just related to your pelvis. The periton is just related to the peritoneum, so the lining within your abdomen. Derm, which means skin, or more specifically dermis. And neuro for nerve. And hemo for blood. Arterio or angio for arteries. So for arterio and angio, you might have heard of angioplasty or angiograms. They all have to do with arteries. The next one is veno or vena, which is just the venous system or veins. You may have heard of the inferior or superior vena cava, vena. So that's a way to remember that. Vasculo just means vascular. So your vascular system, your vasculature. Musculo for muscle. Myo, and also the related term sarco for muscle. So your you might have heard of myocardium or sarcoplasmic reticulum. They all deal with muscle or muscle cells. Two related ones are also skeletal or skelete, like in musculoskeletal system, and osteo, which means bone. So they both are related to bones. Another one is cyto for cell, and the other related term is the suffix cyte, which means cells or cellular. So the next organs I'm going to get into are the neck and thoracic organs. So starting with your thyroid, which this thyro is the prefix for that one. Tracheo for trachea. Esophageo or esophago for esophagus. Thymo for thymus, which is just the immune system organ that's relatively close to your heart. Masto or mammo, which is related to the mammary gland or the breast. Pulmo or pneumo for the lung. And cardio for the heart. The next organs I'm going to get into is the abdominal organs. So gastro for the stomach. Hepato for the liver. So you may have heard of hepatitis or hepatocyte. So they all relate to the liver. One that you may not have heard of is cholecysto. That's for the gallbladder, so you might not have heard of, but maybe cholecystectomy when you remove your gallbladder, or cholecystokinin, which controls gallbladder contraction. Another one is spleno, that's just for the spleen. Another one is pancreato, for the pancreas. Another one is adreno, for the adrenal gland. Just the gland that sits on top of your kidneys. And you might not have heard of this one, nephro for your kidney. So you can think of nephrologist. These are related to the kidney, and this word actually comes from and is derived from the nephron, or the functional unit within the kidney. Entero is used for the intestines, so you might have heard of enteritis, say. You might have heard of enteritis, an inflammation of your intestines. And another one is colo, which is just for col or colo, which is for the colon or large intestine. So you might have heard of colitis, so that's an inflammation of the colon. So here are some common suffixes in medical terminology. Ology is just the study of, like biology, the study of life. Nephrology, the study of the kidney. Gastroenterology, the study of the gastrointestinal system. And the list can go on and on. It just means the study of a particular subject. The next one is philia, which means the love of. And the opposite of philia is phobia, which is just the fear of. So that's an easy one. Most people know that phobia is a fear of something. Another one that people don't think of is tension. Tension means just pressure. So hypertension, high blood pressure. Tension just means pressure. And the sia, it's kind of hard to say this, but like hypoxia, oxia or zia is oxygen. It has to do with oxygen. Hypoxia is low oxygen. Another gas that we want to be aware of is carbon dioxide, and that is capnia. The suffix for that is capnia, so you can think of hypercapnia, high carbon dioxide levels. So the next one is apnea. This is another hard one to say. That just means air. So it's related to pneumo. It's spelled kind of the same way, PN. You have that PN there, so it's that odd spelling. So it's actually apnea, so you might have heard of dyspnea or hyperpnea. Different things like that have to do with air or breathing. And another one is very common is ase at the end of a word, and that usually means enzyme. Anyways, guys, that was Medical Terminology Lesson 1. In the next lesson, I'm going to be talking to you guys about different suffixes that describe different disease states and processes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take everything that we've learned and we're going to work through some practice problems in the next lesson. So anyways, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. That'd be greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.